To start with, we're going to each introduce ourselves, and Grace set us the challenge of telling you all something about ourselves that you don't know. So a fact or something about us that you don't know. And it took quite a while to think of something for me. So I'm going to start. So I'm not going to introduce myself further because Grace has done such a lovely introduction. I'm Kanjilal. And the fact that took me a while to think about is that I have a real phobia of snakes. So much so that I can't even look at a picture of them in a magazine. I can't watch nature programs or anything like that. I am an NLP master practitioner, so I should probably do some work on trying to figure out why that is. But the thought of doing that is too scary. I think it stems back to trips to India when I was a child visiting my grandparents, but it's one of those things that I can't even go there with. So that's my fact about me. And so I'm going to go next to you, Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm Managing Director and founder of JustOne.uk. We are a sustainability consultancy, and I founded it based on two beliefs. One being that I think businesses hold the key to solving some of the world's biggest problems. And two, we wanted to put humanity back into business. There's always these things people say about, oh, that's just business. Well, no, you got to treat people well along the way. I have 17 years experience as a sustainability consultant, and we use a holistic strategic approach to everything that we do. So it's really embedding social, environmental, and economic considerations into everything. Along with, which you'll hear me talk about a lot, is social justice. And we've created a social justice charter that we will talk about a bit later. Things that people don't know about me. So I have three. I played the trombone for 9 years, and I almost went, I'm really proud about that. But I wouldn't be proud of you if I played right now because I'd suck. But I almost went into fine arts because of it. The second thing is that I'm very proud that I've created a what we call a heart model on how to build trust within different organizations and with individuals as well. And the last thing is that I'm getting a dog, and she arrives on the 18th of October.
Great, thank you. And should we go to Benita next?
Brilliant. So I'm Benita, and well, why am I here? I mean, that's a bit of an existential question for this time of the evening. So you asked me to think of a few things that you don't know about me. Well, I come from a very diverse family of Jewish ukulele players. I don't play the ukulele. I do sing in a community choir called the Dulcet Tones. If you live in Brighton, you might have heard of us. So more on that, come and chat to me later if you want to hear more on that. And finally, you may not know this, or you might know, you might have guessed already, I don't know, it depends how good I'm looking this evening, but I'm the oldest person on the panel. And why do I even mention my age? Well, part of what I'm going to talk about is about age diversity and ageism in the workplace and in business, and what kind of difference that makes. Why does that matter to me? Well, I run an organisation, a company called Futuretivity, and we deliver sustainability for businesses, and we focus on media and tech industries. We believe that those industries really have a lot to answer for, and also really have the power to create huge amounts of change for people and planet. And so Futuretivity works across sectors, but mostly focusing on media and tech. And tonight I'm going to be talking a little bit about why diversity matters, and particularly in relation to age.
Thank you. And Darren, we've just heard from you all about you, but what about something that we don't know about you that might surprise us?
Okay, well, I got excluded from school. That's one. I've got 12 half brothers and sisters. And when I met the Queen, very royal theme, I met the Queen after Beijing Paralympics, and you know what, they all come round to you and they all tell you how you're meant to greet her and all that kind of stuff. And when she came up to me, I just said, "Hi, Liz." And she responded, "Oh, you're a bright so-and-so, aren't you?" So yeah, we had a good time though. She's cool. Well, she was.
great. Thank you. And everyone's just a person, right? So yeah, even if they're the Queen, they are just a person, or not so. So we've got some questions to ask the panel that will lead to some discussion. But yeah, do get your questions ready too. So I'm going to start with a question about something we've already been talking about this evening. So there is a strong and proven business case for creating diverse teams. There's lots of research and stats around it. There's government-funded research that shows that it's better to create diverse teams, but we still have so far to go. So why do you think organisations should prioritise this? I'm going to start with Benita.
I've got a lovely pink microphone. It clashes a little bit with my my top, but there you go. Why do we need diverse teams? Well, if you think about it this way, an organisation can only be sustainable if it has a diverse team. Because otherwise what you're doing is you're excluding all of that life experience, all of that intelligence, all of that diversity of thought, which has already been mentioned tonight, all of those ideas, all of those skills. And we really need to think about, if we're building organizations that are going to face up to the very pressing challenges that we face in this world, we need to have a diverse workforce. So I think that's really what we need to do with diverse teams. We need to really think about who are the people that can build the companies of the future that are going to make a positive contribution to the planet and to people and society at large.
Thank you. And Darren, your thoughts on this?
I suppose I can go back to sort of football, and you know, that in a team you've got people who bring different skills to that team, and you know, probably when you're at school, probably everybody wants to be a striker, everyone wants to score the goals, but ultimately you're not going to be effective, are you, if everyone, they all ever want to do is score the goals. You need people who are happy and good at doing the defensive role in the team, who are good at doing it. And now, as I got older, I had to get the young lads to do the running for me, and I was just the organizer. So, and that's all that diversity is. It's bringing different skills to your organization, different skill sets. Because if you've got everybody who just wants to do the same thing, then that's all you're going to be good at, one thing.
Great, thank you. And over to you.
Thank you. So I take a bit more of a macro view to this. If you think about one of the biggest problems we're facing in the world is climate change. The other one is around social justice. It's the equivalent of climate change. And what you do within your business is to make it more diverse and inclusive, but to solve this wider global problem needs to be resolved. And I think, as I said before, I think businesses hold the key to that. We've seen a lot of civil movements over the past few years. Well, actually over the past decade, everything from the Me Too movement to Black Lives Matter. And, you know, the pressure from your customers and from the general public for businesses to act is really there. But businesses historically, or even recently, have been a bit performative. They may have changed their Twitter logo to a black square, or you know, their logo to a pride flag. Another pressure point for me for this social element is that investors are only investing in companies now that are dealing with climate change and social justice. So there's this trickle-down effect from where the money's coming to have businesses really take action, and it goes throughout the supply chain. So I think it's, you know, the criticism that the general public has given to businesses who are performative and investors looking for real meaningful action is really there. So I think businesses really need to be proactive about what they do to solve some of these problems. And we talk about systemic change. It's changing the systems within your business, because you really do have the power to do that, and that affects the wider society.
Thank you. And we've touched on some of this already, but just interested to hear what you all think about this a bit more. We're talking about diversity, and the organisation is called Diverse Sussex. What do we really mean when we talk about diversity? What does it mean to you when we talk about creating diverse teams? And Darren, if we can come to you first on that.
So yeah, as I think diversity, I think sometimes we literally focus on the data that comes in terms of, well, we've got this percentage of this group and we've got that percentage of that group, and is it kind of representative of wider society? And I think it's important that our businesses reflect the people we serve. You know, if you're an organisation that's got a board and you've got governance, you know, that's a big thing we look at. But really, I think about it in terms of how it makes us more effective, and how you're able to challenge each other, that you've got someone in your organization that doesn't think the same as you and is able to say, are you sure that's the right thing to do, or do you think we could do things differently? That's where the real benefits of diversity come in. And obviously, if you're all from similar backgrounds, you all kind of had the same training, you've all done the same courses at college, you're all going to think the same as a general rule.
Thank you. Yeah, and there's lots of case studies around that show, as you mentioned, with groupthink, if you have everyone from the same kinds of backgrounds. Yeah. Benita, your thoughts on this? What does diversity really mean to you when we're talking about diversity?
I think about diversity of experience. I think about diversity of life experience, of work experience, of perspective, of mindsets. Because, homogeneity is dull, it's boring. But as I mentioned before, it's really unsustainable. And, one of the things that we developed at Futuretivity is this model of delivering sustainability. It's called 360-degree sustainability. And it looks at all of the different elements that we need to deliver sustainable businesses and organizations. And diversity and inclusion absolutely has to be at the heart of that. There are studies and there's research that shows that diverse organizations are more creative, they're now more profitable, they're certainly more innovative. There are lots and lots of benefits to being a more diverse organisation. You're more likely, for example, to retain staff, to recruit staff. People want to be part of workplaces where they are valued, where they can see themselves represented within that organisation, where there's a culture that includes and celebrates the experience and the life experience that they have. So for me, that's what diversity really means. And I think what we need to do is we need to start showcasing more positive stories and celebrating diversity.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, and over to you.
Thank you. I think just to add to the things that were already said, I think it's a case of future-proofing your business if you have a diverse workforce. If you're not innovating, you're not moving forward, especially in the tech industry. So to have people that really challenge each other, and you have a culture where it's okay to challenge each other, not like, oh God, she said this about me or he said that, I think is really important. Also with the culture, I think that values and purpose must be at the core of this. If everyone in your team feel that they are contributing to something more than just selling stuff, they want to be there. They want to be there every day and give their absolute best because they feel that they're contributing to this wider goal. And I guess when we talk about attracting and retaining people, we know by lots of different studies now, it's not just millennials, and it's a little bit of everyone, that people want to work for companies and actually buy from companies that do more than sell stuff. And that's not just a marketing thing and how you say it, but it's more what you believe and how that translates into your products, your services, and the systems that you create, because you're able to create a fairer world and a diverse world where everyone is accepted, not diverse, inclusive, through the products and services that you provide, through the businesses that you run, and through how you engage with all your stakeholders.
Great, thank you. And there's lots of studies around how businesses are thinking differently about their suppliers and partners as well. Things like anyone who's involved in tenders, like, are these going to be factors that are considered now? So it's becoming something that's way beyond just looking at some studies and reports. It's becoming a way of doing business for sure.
You're getting a lot of on bids and tenders, particularly from the public sector, how much of your supply chain is coming from small to medium-sized businesses. Now, in itself, it doesn't seem like, what is that actually doing for the world? But when you move the distribution of wealth to many different groups of people by contributing to SMEs plus large organizations and local versus non-local, all this sort of thing, you're able to create a more fair and just world. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to stay with you for this question, actually, because so you've already touched on this. We've talked about the reactive, kind of people saying, yes, we need to do something about diversity and inclusion. Perhaps people change their logo during Pride, or perhaps they do something for Black History Month. But those things are very reactive and performative. And often when you look at those organisations, and look at what they're really about, you can see beyond that. I don't know if anyone saw on International Women's Day, there was a great bot that was essentially looking at everyone tweeting about International Women's Day and posting their gender pay gap. And it was fantastic. I think it was the best thing about the day because it just moved beyond the branding of all these organisations. So how can we drive real change beyond those kind of reactive things?
I'm glad you asked me that. So I think this starts with engagement. And the way that my team started when we started to think about this is that we don't know everything. We need to start with this bit of humility. So we engaged with loads of different organizations from all different sectors, the Chelsea Football Club, Barclays Bank, some councils around the UK, law firms, HR firms. And we decided that businesses need something that they can actually tangibly do that contributes to this wider concept of social justice. So just to put it clearly, if we make the analogy with the environment, if you're cutting your carbon footprint within your organization, you're contributing to halting the climate crisis. If you deal with diversity and inclusion within your business, you're able to create a socially just world. So after engaging with all of these different businesses, we created the Social Justice Charter, which I think we'll talk about a little bit more as the year goes on, but I'm really proud to say that we're actually launching it today. So you're the first group to hear about this. There's nothing like this in the world, and it takes a more strategic approach to everything that we do within the business. And so what is social justice? It is the just distribution and access to opportunities, privileges, and wealth. So Grace and I used to work in the real estate sector, and it was notoriously, kind of more richer white males, I'd say. And you could see that reflected in how decisions were made in the business. So when you start with a belief that every human is different, and we need equitable systems in order to create a fair world, you will make decisions within your business to do just that. So what the charter is, and I hope you can all take a look at it. We're going to give a QR code a little bit later. But basically, it's a set of agreements, a set of commitments that you will make in order to engage your stakeholders, the people that are mostly affected by the decisions that your business makes, set goals and take action to help make their needs, their priorities, and their barriers more prevalent, and to fix them. And if there's access to all of those different things, you're creating a more fair and just world. So that's the proactivity bit.
Great, thank you. That's okay. So next, if we go to Benita next. So for you, how do we move beyond the reactive, kind of performative, changing logos to real change?
Well, we need real action, don't we? I mean, when you think that, I read recently that only 1/5 of employers currently have a strategy agreed at board level to manage an age diverse workforce. So there's actually very little being done. And so it is about taking those actions. It's about looking at your organization. For example, do an age audit, take some action, look around. If everybody in your organization is the same age, that's a problem. So I think we need to start taking some real action. It's not about logos and, fanfares, but it is about doing something that is meaningful. And just think about, for example, when you're recruiting and you're targeting, all the time, all the language that you use in that recruitment, the number of times you see, we're looking for, fit and enthusiastic. Well, it's very clear what age group that is targeting. And so you need to start thinking about the language that you're using, how you're communicating, what are the real actions that you're taking to include people and to recruit, retain, and train a diverse workforce. It really is about the action.
Thank you. And Darren, your thoughts on this?
So I think it goes back to the people that you bring into your organization. You're going to have people in your organization for who, it's even more important an issue, I suppose, than just for someone sitting in the boardroom. And I think if you engage with your staff and you engage with your customers, that's where you can get lots of ideas and initiatives on, what needs to be changed, and also how you can go about changing it. So I think it's turning it from a me problem into a we problem, and really using the network and the resources around you. I mean, that's, I guess, why you're here today as well, to kind of get other ideas from other people. And, if you're not from the same organisations, you've got a ready-made group that you can tap into and make use of.
Thank you. And I'm going to stay with you, Darren, actually, for this question. So for this one, I'm going to keep you all to some snappy actions. If people do one or two things after today, what actions do you suggest that they take to drive change and do something different? So if we start with you, Darren.
So for me, I'd be sort of just looking at the language that you use, whether it's on your websites and whether it's in the office, where really how we communicate is massively important. Okay, and Benita?
I'm a big fan of training. I think that we can train our existing staff, diversity training, and looking at diversity and inclusion in all its forms. I think that's really important. I've already mentioned conducting audits. I think that's also something that we can practically do. Get employee buy-in, create these inclusive cultures. There's lots of ways that you can do that. Whether you're establishing a group to help monitor diversity, for example, across an organisation, get everybody involved in the process. Everybody should be part of this. We're all part of the solutions as well as, the challenges.
Yeah, thank you. And Dave?
Yeah, just to build on that, I would say not just your employees, but also your customers, your suppliers, your communities in which you operate. Talk to them. It's the heart of trying to, don't assume things. Find out who they are, and then create those systems to help them. Whether it be, setting goals around how you give access to your profession, so working all the way back, or even creating a fair system of how you charge your clients so that you can give access to your services to all types of businesses, not just the cream of the crop. There's many different things you can do, but it starts with really engaging your stakeholders. And I would say the second thing just to add is to give it resource. There's too many times where someone in the organization is just given this sort of like either stakeholder engagement or diversity inclusion as a secondary part of their job, and they have to squeeze it in, and they just get exhausted, and it doesn't actually get done properly. Give the time, money, and resource for it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's something we see so often, that companies talk about driving change, and actually a bunch of people are given some work to do on top of everything else they do, and it's not resourced. And yeah, those things are not going to drive real change. And just a little plug for Diverse Sussex. One thing you could all do if you're not signed up is sign up to be a signatory for Diverse Sussex after today. Okay, we're almost out of time. So what I'm going to do now is come to each panelist, quick fire, for your one action you urge everyone to take as a result of today. And if we can come to Darren first, because you didn't get to answer that question.
Okay, well, actually, I will answer that question, I suppose, now. But quickly, I would say really what Benita said in terms of the people who are writing the programs, that they've got their own biases in the first place. So sometimes that is often built into it. And we also know that lots of the sort of psychological norms have been based on research with the same sorts of groups of people. So then anyone who's different to the norm is considered abnormal just because they're different from the people that research was carried out against. So yeah, I suppose my final tip is reiterating really the same thing I've said all through, is about building diversity within your team. Not just really looking at the people that you're bringing into the organisation at the grassroots level or at the bottom rungs of the ladder, but actually driving that from the top, and that you've got a senior leadership team that is diverse.
Thank you. Benita?
I think I'm just going to go with mean it. Listen, act, and make that change, and mean it. Do it meaningfully. We all know what we need to do. I mean, we've heard so many interesting, diverse perspectives tonight on what actions we can take. So let's do it. Let's mean it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Along the same lines, I think we were talking a lot about listening. Just listen to the people around you. If you have to put a business process in place to do that, that's what the socialjusticecharter.com, if you want to go see it. So you can look at the different ways in order to do that. But listening, it just starts with that. Don't assume a lot. Listen to everyone. And if you had to do one thing to go at your desk tomorrow, is find the resource to do this. Find someone who's passionate, give them the time, energy, and money to do it.
Thank you. And I'm going to end with one myself with a slight plug. So I don't know if you all know, it's National Inclusion Week next week. And I Watch This Space, we're running an online conference and there's some flyers outside and we have speakers on a lot of the subjects we've talked about today. So neurodiversity, anti-racism, shyness, collaborative leadership, lots of those subjects. So do look us up. And so we're just on time. So thank you so much to all our panelists. I feel like we could have talked for a lot longer, but thank you so much for such an engaging conversation. And thank you all for listening and with great questions. And we'll see you another time.